Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Ken Rosenblood. He's the Chief Innovator and founder of Obvious. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Excellent. Sun's shining.
Of course it is in California.
Yes.
I do love how on your LinkedIn profile you have doing well by doing good. So that just made me think of that kind of little quote you have there.
Yes, Benjamin Franklin. That's what the BS after it says.
Okay.
I tried to give him a citation.
Very cool.
Credit.
Very cool. So before we get into what you guys are doing at Obvious, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Okay, so how did you make your way from Hamilton to university and then down south? Well, you went to university in California, but walk us through your university, because you went to a few.
I absolutely did, but I want to give credit to my mom, who was from California, and that's how I ended up here.
Gotcha.
And that's how I knew I wanted to be from Hamilton. I love Hamilton. It's the greatest place to be from, but I wanted to live in West Los Angeles, and once I saw it, I said, that's for me. So I went to Western, as Canadian kids do.
Sure. What did you take and why?
Poli-sci. I was a reader. There was nothing left. I was a worse than terrible student in Ontario as a high school student, and just, booked it for one term of grade 13 and got into grade 13 and got Ontario Scholar and moved on from there. So I made sure I had my residence. So for Canadians who are old, that story will make sense. But then I'm 56, full disclosure, but then moved to Los Angeles in 1984, the summer of the Olympics, attended UCLA, took courses, ended up all art history, all the things I didn't take at Western.
Gotcha.
Sociology, deviance, some marketing, some literature courses, and then TA'd there, and then went to law school here. And graduated law school, hated being a lawyer.
Okay. Interesting. So walk me through your journey getting out of law into doing your own thing, because you did a few.
Do you remember the show LA Law?
Yep. And
they always showed the license plate. I always wanted my license plate to say NOMOLAW.
Okay.
No more law.
That's awesome. There's still time.
Yeah. I had a wonderful person who was a partner at the time that realized I wasn't happy.
Okay.
And said, we had right out of law school, we had a law office with responsibilities and I did transactional work. She did the litigation, which is a huge undertaking.
Sure.
But she said, hey, listen, let's finance through the law office. It's 50-50 what you want to do. So I went and I did elastic shoelaces. I had 3 inventions at the time.
Okay.
And I did elastic shoelaces and got a patent on a lace lock and put the MBA license on top of the lace lock. And this is in the years of the Reebok pump. So
Sure.
This is 88, 89, 90, and
Wow.
This is a big market, and took a 3/4 cut sneaker and gave you the ability to slip it on and off. It was called the Energy Lace System, and energy was spelled NRG.
Interesting.
Lace it, lock it, leave it, baby.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
did you sell that company, or what came of that?
You know what? Things didn't end up going so well with the partner, and we sold it, at a fire sale to a guy from New Zealand in the underlying intellectual property. He didn't execute, and I needed to go, and I thought I had enough money. I made some dough, right? Because we were in Walmart and we had the MBA license, and I thought I had enough dough and go plant tomatoes and be a teacher.
Okay.
And then I got stuck, and then I had a client who had started a startup called Discus Dental, and it was Discus Enterprises, and I changed the name with them to Discus Dental, and the first buy sell, and I was employee 4 or 5.
Wow.
General counsel, COO, and we had a wonderful 15-year run.
Okay.
A wonderful 15-year run where we just, learned tremendous things about new technology and bringing them to market, and what a wonderful experience that is to change ceremony, right? I think the word disruptive is a little overused these days, but the opportunity to change ceremony is a kinder, gentler disruptor.
Very cool. So did you sell that company, or what happened after the 14, 15 years?
Everybody started to fight, as people do, and when the money's on the table, and the company, I got to remember what I'm allowed to say here and what I'm not allowed to say. It sold after the 2 officers that ran it left, and it sold for less money they had on the table 3 years earlier. So it's a sad story, but it sold.
Okay, it sold. Okay. So then, what did you do after that? You take some time off? Did you start another thing? Walk us through that journey.
I wrote down on a list of paper, a piece of paper, how much I admired people that reinvented themselves, and I listed them.
Okay, interesting.
And I listed the different things that I could reinvent myself as.
Okay.
And I did a thing called Jury Nation, where I was going to, and this is back in 2007.
Okay.
That we wireframed out, this was Twitter, just after Twitter launches, but Twitter subject matter where you get to vote on things and you have subject matter experts meets. They say that it's out there already today, but I don't use it. It was a social media thing to deal with issues like a soapbox or a Yelp, and you could vote and advise.
Interesting.
And while I was doing that, because that was nothing but a money suck,
right?
It never generated any revenue,
sure.
And it was a lot of money suck. And I worked with people that I work with now on that. At the same time, I was working another deal for the acquisition of another company in dentistry that supplied dentists with emergency medical kits.
Okay.
And another company in healthcare and the airlines providing emergency medical kits, crash carts.
Interesting.
And the goal was to run a cloud-based recurring revenue subscription compliance program for doctors.
Sure.
So that if someone strokes out in their waiting room, we're the one that provide the training, the AED, the battery, the drugs, because they expire the drugs, the EpiPens, right? And make sure that you are prepared and on time, and show them that information in the cloud, which changed everything and made it a subscription. And they did that with a Fortune 300 partner, and was very successful for the 4 years that we were there. We grew up by 500%.
Wow.
I didn't like working with that Fortune 300 company. I don't like that Fortune 300 company, and I'll say it. So let's move on from there. But I made good money in my exit, but leave it at that.
No, very cool. Okay.
Which afforded me the opportunity to do Obvious.
Okay, so what exactly is Obvious, and how did you come up with the idea for it?
So I'm 56 now. So at 50, just before my 50th birthday, I'm in Canada. Okay. I'm in Toronto. I'm in the market. I'm underground at the Whole Foods, and I lift the grocery bag out to put it into the minivan. Okay. And there's a pop. And my shoulder, and I'm driving up north, and I'm on the 400, and I remember exactly where I was. And as a Californian who was brought up in that's a combination Californian-Canadian, but it's a combination, right? I know exactly where I was, and I looked at my wife and I said, "This is not like other injuries, right? This is not like other aches and pains that I've complained about." And I spent the next 2 years in the system with, PT, acupuncture, deep tissue, you name it, I did it, and ended up getting my shoulder operated on. And when I woke up, I wake up and the doctor says, Kenny, those 2 slap tears that the MRI showed were in your labrum. And, he said, those weren't slap tears. That's where your cartilage started and ended, and starts and ends, and you're bone on bone from, on the clock from about 11 to 3. And if you don't change your posture, you're going to need shoulder replacement.
Wow.
So I went home. Yeah. So I went home and I was happy. The good news was they didn't cut my bicep tendon. So I didn't have to walk around, with on a hand on a tennis ball with your elbow in the air for
Sure.
6 weeks. So I was back in the office and I started to think, how can I condition myself to sit properly? And I didn't even know what sitting properly was at that point, right? This is
Sure.
2013, I guess. And, do I Velcro myself into the chair? But I know that I want to make the screen go off so that I lose my carrot, so to speak, right? I lose access to my device, to my technology. And if I could have it go off and instead of tapping on the space bar, sit up straight,
Right.
and it was easy as that, I would have conditioned myself, right?
Sure.
Very Pavlov, very basic conditioning. I wanted to make it fun the same way that when I'm playing a video game, I like to play NHL with my son.
Sure.
I like to go into that zone. And I love to play FIFA soccer, believe it or not, still
Sure.
on the
Fair
Wii,
enough.
on the treadmill.
Interesting. Okay. Fair enough.
While on the treadmill, and it's a challenge. And anyways, we could go to the tape, but this is not my kids thought I was crazy. They were younger, but anyways, I like that idea of that immersion, right? I like, how do we use the immersiveness of technology that's sucking our health out of us to give us something healthy? And the healthier thing was posture for me at the time. I thought just sitting straight. And I learned from there that, it's not about sitting straight. It's really about movement. And it's really about movement that's supported by the breath. And from an anthropological, biological standpoint, we weren't meant to be looking at these machines
Sure.
the way we are. And there are 1.3 billion of us that are daily getting over 11 hours of screen time and growing, and it is having health consequences. End of story.
Sure.
In a healthcare system that's collapsing on itself in the United States.
Well, they basically say it's the new smoking, right? Sitting at a desk all day long.
I think I don't think that's correct. I think
Okay,
that I think that not moving,
Okay.
right?
Sure.
So that even if you're sitting at a desk, you should sit part of the day, stand part of the day, get a treadmill under your desk. If you have a part of your day where you can silence out the treadmill and you're a telephone talker for a living, right?
Uh-huh.
If you're in sales or something else. And I understand that there's a certain amount of data entry, but if there's a way to get it done, I think people should be walking part of the day at their desk if it's feasible.
Interesting. Okay. No, I agree. I think that's quite fascinating. So, what are you guys building at Obvious? Because you're doing quite a bit, and it's actually quite fascinating.
Yeah. So, when we were on this journey, the posture journey,
Okay.
before I realized it was about movement, I realized that it was about the breath.
Okay.
The breath is such an important thing, and by no means am I going to be anything but the combination of mystic and scientific at the same time. And I think that's kind of the timing that we're at right now, whereby Western medicine is realizing that if you provide a certain cadence to the human breath,
Okay.
there can be an effect on the parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
End of story.
Okay. Interesting.
Whether you believe in going Om or you have to clear your mind, just doing the exercise, right? Just doing the cadence, it will ultimately clear your mind anyways. So how do you keep a person on a cadence, so to speak? Whether it's for heart rate variability, which is the big buzzword right now in the weighted condition, or you're out there, and I don't know if you or your listeners are familiar with a gentleman by the name of Wim Hof. And if you're not, take the Wim Hof push-up test for those of you that can do push-ups. Wim Hof looks crazy, but the science that's being done on the manipulation of the breath, and he's on one end of the spectrum,
Okay.
all over the world today is fascinating. And at the end of the day, it boils down to something really simple. If you can get to an even breath in and out, 15 minutes a day, that's a wonderful thing, right?
Sure.
5 in, 6 out, a little bit longer exhale. And if you can use cues to keep you there, whether it's a chime that goes ding dong, whatever it is that floats your boat, or ambient music of winds or birds, right?
Yeah.
If you can learn to do that and to breathe diaphragmatically, there's some tricks, right, that technology can provide to get you there. Whether it's the sounds, whether it's an electronic coach, a real coach, or just a sound. So first thing that we discovered that we have the ability, and we patented this, to visualize the breath itself. So in other words, when I'm breathing in on the screen, it looks like a big marshmallow and it's getting bigger, but it's really me. It's real biofeedback, right?
Sure.
It's not a Ziegler line on a graph, and it's tied to ding, dong. Not a very good singer, and I didn't support that well with the breath, right? The yogis are the guys that can walk around and keep their breath in the background all the time. Very difficult thing to do.
Sure.
But we don't need to do it all the time, right? I think that the way our bodies are made, it understands, hey, you got to go about your business part of the day, but you also need this downtime and this reset. So we ended up creating a device at Obvious that shows you your posture on your screen. And when you're out of good posture, you set it by taking a nice breath. You sit up tall. You think about you have Spock ears that are reaching for the ceiling, right? Or you're a ballet dancer and there's a string on your head, and you set yourself in your chair and you make sure you can see your monitor, right?
Yeah.
It is amazing because the whole crisis that we're experiencing right now from a healthcare standpoint is because we're all leaning forward. And, you know, the body workers and the biologists would say, or especially the chiros, right? You're in kyphosis. And that head is forward. There's that big shape in the hump in the back of the, you know, at T1 and below. Everywhere that we're supposed to be bending one way, we're bending the other. So, and it's not conducive to breathing. So it became posture is breathing. And breathing is posture. You can't have one without the other. So on the device, when we want you to feed up and just take 4 breaths of diaphragmatic breathing at any time, you can just click and your respiration is visible to you, as I described before, like this marshmallow going in and out.
Sure.
And you can do a combination of the two, and it works in the background as a body clock, right? While you're working on your handheld, it's in the background. And if you go into bad posture, it'll give you a vibration on your cell phone or on the device if you'd like. But when you're at your desktop, the last thing I think we need is another bzzz, right?
Sure.
Or another beep or another notification, because I think it sets off that flight or fight response that I spoke about earlier when I talked about we're not biologically meant to be sitting in front of a desk, right? We were meant to be wandering the savannah, and once every 2 weeks, a saber-toothed tiger, you know, jumps out of the bushes, and we're off and running.
Sure.
Not every time and I turned off my notifications for this interview. Not every time, you know, that email notification happens or that text comes in. And right now we are a society under rapid fire of notifications, right? As a technologist, I know sometimes trying to manage them is difficult. And some days my technology, it seems like it attacks me. And, you know, my iPhone is hooked up to my computer and it's ringing in 6 places and I'm on a conference call. It's a crazy place to live. So at Obvious, our objective is how do we bring back some purpose to these devices that we love? I'm a technologist. I love my stuff, right?
Sure.
But how do we make it run in the background and condition us in a fun way to sit up straight, to take a few breaths? And then from there, we think that we'll have permission with our customers to maybe say, hey, should I be addressing my walking, or should I be addressing my intake, my nutrition? Where am I on the health spectrum, right? Because certainly mindfulness is a pillar of wellness, right?
Totally.
And there are a lot of devices out there, and Apple's going about it in their way with looking at more. I've already got a situation with my heart, so I need to have an EKG at my availability. We're focusing on wellness, right?
Sure.
And what's this individual person's journey? And we define wellness as mindfulness, nutrition, sleep, activity, and habits. And we think that technology, what is posture and breathing but habits? And we think that, technology can help incentivize us to get to points where we have true internal motivation to do everything that's good for us or make better decisions. And that is technology supporting, in my mind, the fastest growing area of healthcare, or probably not only the fastest growing area of healthcare, but the most effective area of healthcare. And that's lifestyle medicine, which basically says, or integrated medicine, which basically says the person's behavior and what they do is the most important thing, not the drugs that we provide them. So
interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. The thing that's interesting that I think gets a little bit hard to explain is the visuals. And you gave me a really good demo a few weeks ago about how everything kind of works with video and kind of seeing the app. And the thing that I noticed about it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you're basically, you let the user choose at their own pace how much they want to transition into a healthier lifestyle, because you could just say, you know what, watch my posture, right? And tell me every time I slouch or whatever. And then you could say, watch my posture and do all these other things for me. And I can kind
whatever
of
you
cherry
want to
pick.
Do. Whatever you
I could cherry pick them, right? And decide, because I think part of the problem with anybody that's looking to get healthy or fit or whatever they want to call it is you kind of have to just jump in the deep end and sink or swim. And I think that, to majority of people, myself included, is too life-changing. You need to slowly say, like, I'm just going to do something that's 15 minutes a day or 15 minutes a couple times a week, instead of just like, okay, you need to rework your, you need to start working out 45 minutes a day. You need to start eating like this. You need to start doing this, this, and this. And it's like 50 things at you. And you're like, you're going to fail because you just can't do that. Right.
Right. So you're absolutely. So what we're trying to do is create the ultimate tool for the health coach. So whatever you're ready to do, we're here to help you with.
But then you can keep adding, right? I think that's the differentiator between you and your competitors.
It's a journey and it's a game, right?
Sure.
And we're here for the long haul.
Sure.
We don't want to spray it. Right. We're here for the long haul to help you get to wellness, whatever your path is.
Sure. So I want to get into how people get the device quickly, but I want to cover one thing before. You've mentioned some sensors and whatnot. How does, like, I have to wear something on my body. How do you explain that to people? And what are the options, and where can I wear the device on my body that connects to my phone, my computer, etc.?
So right now you wear your Apple Watch and your Fitbit on your wrist.
Sure.
What we've got is essentially an Apple or a Fitbit, and you take it off the wristband. Okay. And we're making a clip for the Apple Watch as well as our own hardware.
Okay.
And you're taking that Apple Watch and you take the heart sensor side down, and you would put it at T1 on the back of your shirt where the tag is. That's your thoracic one, right? Okay. Or alternatively, on the front of your shirt. Okay, on your chest. That will give you posture in real time while you're sitting at your desktop, where you can move around, and when you move, a ball on the screen moves. A small one. If you want to play with it and have fun with it, it's there. But that's the visual that you are going to get, and it will give you a good zone and a not good zone, and soft conditioning to correct.
Okay.
So that's kind of the first experience out of the box. But if you're there because, let's say, you don't know how to diaphragmatically breathe, and
Okay.
a lot of people have problems with that, right?
Sure. I think a lot of people don't even know what that means.
Okay. Well, if we had a video, I'd give you a demonstration. As my kids say, show them the belly, Dad. But because it is, some people call it belly breathing, right?
Okay.
But to do that, you need to lie on the floor.
Okay.
Right? Take a bean bag. You can lie on the floor with our sensor, put it on your belly, have your iPad or your phone or your monitor in the air where you can see it without hurting your neck.
Sure.
And you'll be able to see whether your belly is rising and falling.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Okay. And you'll see the rhythm by which a breath goes through your body. Okay.
Sure.
As you learn to diaphragmatically breathe, right? Which is, the diaphragm is, we could do a show on the diaphragm and the psoas muscle, but let's not.
Okay.
It is about the breath, right? It supports our muscles. It supports our nervous system. It's the one thing that we can do and that we can manipulate, and that modern healthcare, Western medicine realizes today, is that we can affect our parasympathetic nervous system, our organs, right? Our vagal nerve that controls all our organ, that comes out of our brainstem, straight down the middle of our body, that we can manipulate this, and the biofeedback shows it.
Okay, interesting.
And our nervous system and our digestion, it gets happy. Our heart rate gets happy. Our variable heart rate improves. Our blood pressure improves. It's the one thing we can do. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound like evangelical, but I am evangelical. I've had my business life has been crazy.
Sure.
It's been stressful, and I've been injured. And if I didn't have the breath, honestly, it would have been a much harder road to hoe. That is for certain.
Interesting. Okay, so how and when are people going to be able to get one of these devices and the apps and everything we talked about so far?
So right now we are just getting ready to start taking pre-orders. We just ran, we've had 150 devices in the field for the last year, 15 months.
Okay.
Putting them through their paces, learning everything that we can, and we're going to spin and gin up with a manufactured exterior or industrial design for 1,000 pieces in the next 90 days.
Oh wow!
And then we're taking orders after that. So we're taking the pre-orders and the people that are out there saying you got to show them that people want this. I mean, I don't mean to sound cocky, but I know people will want this based upon the fact that we've been out in public with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine folks, working with health coaches, right? The integrative health coaches. We've been with yogis. We've been with cardiologists. We've been with the biofeedback people. We have all of these people serving on our advisory board over the last 5 years.
Got you.
It's a wonderful thing that's kind of coming together.
Sure.
We want to do this right. Yeah, we want to do this right. And when we take it out to the mall here, as we've done a couple of times in Los Angeles, people genuinely think it's fun, and that's the greatest assumption affirming event of my life was when the kid goes, wow, I love this, because there's some fun stuff that you can tie to the gyroscope and the rotation of the body.
Interesting.
We kind of made a human fidget spinner, which is one of my favorite things. And it's really strange. 30% of the people absolutely go, wow, man, that's really cool. And 70% of the people go, that's crazy. But you're essentially, it's like kinetic sculpture. Imagine a fidget spinner that you can control by rocking your shoulders back and forth.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no, very cool. So
Yeah.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into, so people have to go to their wellness coach to get one, or how does that kind of exactly work? You covered it quickly, but I want to make sure people are clear.
So the first stage that we're doing and what's for sale right now, we're looking for testers, and we're going to go directly to consumers, and we're going to expand, and we'll be testing at the same time with health coaches to make it the tool. The UX and the software behind what we call right now the Minder Pro side of things is really robust, ready to roll out, ready to be tested, but needs to be testing because it's being built on a HIPAA compliant platform, right? And it's got to work. It's got to work on Android. It's got to work on iPhone. It's got to work on iOS. It's got to work on Windows, etc. And it's got to be right. So that's testing, but we'll get there, right? It's all a mashup. And when you're working in a regulatory environment, you have to do things in a certain way.
Sure.
Which is the right way. Quality.
No, totally. That makes sense. So I'm curious to know, where do you guys kind of take this? Because I think eventually you would probably sell these either online direct to consumers at big box retailers, or do you want to stay just in with the health professional?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's what we're going to do. First of all, we will never be in a big box store.
Okay.
We will not.
Okay. Why is that? Just out of curiosity.
Because I want this to be tied to a coach.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay. Ultimately. And that this is not, it's beautiful, but we want it to have a timeless quality to it. And it's about the communication and what the device represents to help you with your behavior than it is bling, so to speak, that we would want to sell at Best Buy. And, health coaching is a very seriously researched and valid methodology for improving outcomes.
Okay.
End of story. Double blind, peer reviewed, right? Placebo. Health coaching works. And it's based upon, certain techniques related to where that individual is raised. So you said to me before, oh my goodness, it's so big. There's so much to do in relation to my wellness, right? Yeah. And I don't know where to start, and it's going to be an epic fail. The health coach is a person that is there through asking open-ended questions, for example, right? And a lot of silence, but knows how to manage it. A health coach believes you know the right place to start. Kevin, you know what to do.
Okay, sure.
Okay, sure. But what we're going to do is get you to be forthcoming with it. Once you're forthcoming with it, we're going to nail you to a schedule. We're going to funnel you into that. That's where we crack the whip as a coach, right? And that's where we're going to throw out the reward.
Right.
But
and motivation probably too, right? Like if I'm kind of falling behind or I'm, right? You can
whether it's social or whether it's from him or her, or whether it's you want a medal that we're going to provide you, or an opportunity to win a free massage.
Interesting.
Right? All of these external motivators to try to get you closer to that internal motivator of, holy cow, my thing was that I should be walking 3.5 miles a day. End of story, right?
Okay.
And I've got a dog, and there's no reason why I can't do it. And I live in California, and you know what? I had to say it.
Sure.
And then kind of be held to the goal, so to speak. But I had to say it. So that morass that you talked about, that overwhelming morass, we think, and our advisory board and our coaching panel all agree, that you can break wellness and this behavior that we're after, right, down into 5 very nice buckets.
Okay.
Mindfulness, nutrition, activity, sleep, and habits.
Okay.
That's it, right? And we believe that, we can give individuals a survey, an in-depth survey, right?
Okay.
Part medical history, part where you at, and why are you talking to me about your health, right?
Sure.
And assess what you're ready to start with. and it's not going to be the atomic bomb, right, of 27 things. But I will guarantee you that it'll be based on something very personal to you, right, and a really good start based upon a personal interview. And I assure you that it will involve some element of mindfulness and you being more aware of yourself. That is mindfulness, right?
Sure.
When you've got the monkey mind or I'm not going to get all preachy again, but at the end of the day, I think every successful health coach believes that mindfulness is a part of a healthy life. And there's a lot to unpack there. We could do several shows on that. But yeah, that is the essence of who we are. And the best way to be mindful is really, it's as simple as not counting sheep or counting breaths, right?
Sure.
And if you count 3 breaths and you're cognizant of it, oh my goodness, I would count that as being mindful.
Sure. Well, I also think, though, you guys are building a tool that allows people to see results because I think, maybe I should back up a second. I think the biggest struggle with people trying to lose weight that I've heard from people is they step on a scale and maybe their weight stays the same or it goes up a bit or it's not going down fast enough. They think they're failing when they're actually improving. It's just not happening as instant as they would like it to, where if you can see, wow, my posture's getting better and I'm burning more calories, or I'm taking more steps than I traditionally do, or my heart rate's better, or they can see more things improving. Maybe you could even argue they're smaller changes, but if you can see a lot more things and you can actually see that you're getting healthier, I think people are more motivated when they just use one device that doesn't really tell them, other than their weight, that they're getting better, right? I think part of it's like a mind thing, right? Do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts around that?
My thoughts are it's about insight, number one. Okay?
Sure.
And it's fun just to see, oh, there's my heart rate.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at that. My boss just called my heart rate went flying because it's right there on your desktop, right?
Sure.
Well, isn't that it? And we have a system called Stressful, number one. But number two, you're right. It's about small victories, right? And we can get and find small victories in that data to keep people going.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no more data after you've gone into the weight. There's so much more interesting things to look at and fun things to look at. But there's also an element of this that a health coach also provides, is kind of visioning, right?
Sure.
And you go into this to say, there's a long-term goal here. What's my most important long-term goal? And you back it to a 90-day, you back it to 30 days, and you back it down to the day, right?
Yep.
And it's specific to you. So your little victory may be that, I remember my little victory when I took a health coaching course.
Okay.
I loved it. It was eye-opening. I learned so much.
Sure.
I have so much more to learn. But it's eye-opening in that it was a little thing. Like I wanted to skip rope.
Okay.
And I have hardwood floors here in the office.
Okay.
And sometimes I don't wear shoes to work. I worked above my garage in a really nice facility, like 500 feet. I'm blessed. Across from my breakfast room, across my backyard.
Awesome.
And it's terrific. But if you try to skip rope with a leather rope and you're not wearing shoes, it really hurts. It really hurts your toes.
Sure.
So why am I not starting to skip rope? I know it's a good thing for me to do. It gives me a great heart workout. I like to phase up. I like to see how far I can go. I used to be really good at it. I could do crisscrosses and all this stuff when I was a kid. And why? And I couldn't figure out. So we're talking about it. I said, okay, I'm going to get started. What are you going to do? I'm going to bring a pair of shoes and socks out to the guest house.
Okay.
All right. That was my little victory. That was my first step, and it resonated with me, right? And then there was another one where, and I've always been pleasantly plump. There's no doubt about it, right? Over the course of my life, there's heavy weights and low weights. I've looked good when I needed to, right?
Sure. Yeah.
but nutrition it becomes an issue as you get older, and you have to start becoming more aware of it. And I travel,
Sure.
and I'll tell you something. If there's ever something called death by wasabi nuts, when you go in the American Airlines lounge, I love those free nuts, right?
Sure.
And I'm talking to my health coach, and I said, so I'm going to, I'm going to Europe next week. And she said, well, you remember what happened, last trip? And I go, no, not really. She said, oh, you ate all those wasabi nuts, and you came back and you told me how sick you felt.
Sure.
And so, I substituted behaviors, and she sent me a reminder that said, have a good trip. It was lovely. Have a good trip. No wasabi nuts. And on your layover, walk. And I did.
Yeah, interesting, right?
And then those were my buttons, right? That's a very
Sure.
personal story, and maybe it doesn't sound like anything but for me it resonated. So when I heard from her, oh, no wasabi nuts, I laughed because it was a deal that had come from myself,
Sure.
just from talking about it. And that's kind of how health coaching works a little bit, and it's subtle, but it involves the best, in my mind. It's the best way to improve outcomes, right?
Sure.
It's
Yep.
proven to improve outcomes. So if we can tie the coach and the tech in a good coach, right? Someone
Sure.
that knows how to listen, someone knows how to be present. I think that we can get people doing and starting with those little victories, like you say, whether it's just posture and breathing, or whether it's walking up the stairs, or whatever, or whether it's CrossFit, right?
Sure. Yep.
You need to be more dedicated about it. That a good health coach can help you get there.
No, I think no. Keep going. Sorry.
I'm sorry. And the accountability that the tool provides, right?
Yeah.
This tool that does posture and breathing, and there's that communication of, hey, this is how I'm feeling, etc. And it's tied to someone who's looking at your data with you.
Sure.
That's where it's at, in my opinion.
No, I think that's really good. But sadly, Ken, we're out of time. So let's close with mentioning where people can get more information about you guys and actually pre-order this thing.
Yep, we're on the web, www.obviousme. So O as in Oscar, B as in boy, V as in Victor, U as in U, S as in Sam, .me as in me. Drop us a line, and give us your email, and we will tell you when we are ready. When I'm ready, I'm the anti-MVP, they call me, right? I don't believe in the right? When we're ready to deliver and we're getting there. Oh, if I hear the word MVP one more time. Anyways.
Perfect. Well, Ken, I really appreciate you taking the time in your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day, man.
Thank you. I so appreciate your questions. Thank you, and your interest. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.